Hi ladies and gentlemen, fellow traders, welcome to another episode of Weekly Forex Outlook with Chart Engineering Pro. We really appreciate you for taking the time to watch this video, and we do not take you for granted at all. If you haven't yet subscribed or you are new to this channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any content we post here. And if you also find value with what we share here, be sure to like, drop your comments, share your views, and share this video to your fellow traders or anyone who would find this information useful. Without wasting much time, let's have a quick recap of last week's setups as we discuss them and dive into next week's analysis. So stay tuned. So for last week, we had this on France 40. We anticipated that price was going to pull back to this very first area of interest to give us some buying confirmations. Price made its way to this area of interest and gave us a 4-hour structure shift here, which we were anticipating that price was going to give us a pullback a bit deeper into the zone once again and continue to the upside. Price actually gave a quick retest of the structure shift or the 4-hour structure shift and continue to the upside. So going into next week, we'll be looking forward to a possible reversal pattern or buying confirmations around this zone, or should price pull back into this zone once again, we'll still be interested in looking for buying confirmations to the upside for France 40. So let's see what we have for the coming week. This is DXY on the daily time frame. So last week we anticipated that price was going to pull back into this very first area of interest to give us selling confirmations to the downside, and price actually played out exactly as it was anticipated. Going into next week, we'll be looking forward to a possible pullback once again into this area of interest we have here, and we'll look for selling confirmations to the downside. Should price pull back a bit higher to this zone again and give us selling confirmations, we'll still be interested in taking the sells to the downside for DXY. So for the coming week, should price break above this zone and break this particular structure we have here, then consider DXY bullish. So for the coming week, we'll be looking for sells on USDXXX pairs or XSX USD pairs. We'll be looking for buys on those pairs. So let's see what we have on the USD pairs. This is EURUSD. So for EURUSD, last week we anticipated that price was going to pull back into this area of interest to give us selling confirmation, to give us buying confirmations to the upside. Price made its way there, but we didn't get an entry confirmation, so we couldn't join or participate in this trade. Price actually pulled back into the area of interest, but there was no clear entry confirmation to go to the upside, and FOMC also drove price to the upside. So going into next week, we'll be looking forward to a possible pullback. We're looking forward to a possible pullback into this area of interest. Should price pull back into this very first area of interest, we're looking forward to buying confirmations from this very first area of interest. Or should price pull back also a bit deeper into the second area of interest we had from last week, and we get buying confirmations, we'll still be interested in looking for the buys to the upside. And these are various targets that we're looking out for the coming week. And so if you're a day trader, should the market open for the coming week and we get something like a double top here, should we get like a double top formation here, like price comes a bit higher and gives us a break and give us a double top formation, we can wait for a retest onto the neckline of this double top and look for selling opportunities into this area of interest where we'll be looking forward to take our buys for. So if we get that nice confirmation, we can also take advantage of that move and then go for a quick sell into the area of interest that we want to buy from, and then we'll take it from there. This is GBPUSD. So for GBPUSD, last week we anticipated that price was going to pull back to this very area of interest to give us buying confirmations, and I think due to the GBP strength, price wasn't able to make its way into this area of interest before FOMC was released. So going into next week, we're still going to look out for buying opportunities to the upside. So should price give us a reaction or a buying confirmation within this very first zone, we're looking for it to buy in confirmations, then we take it to the upside. Looking at how far EURUSD or DXY might have to retrace to give us their moves, we might also consider price pulling back into the previous area of interest that we're looking for it to buy from, and take the buys from there to the upside. So we are very bullish on the GBPUSD for the coming week. Should price clear this particular zone and breaks below, then we'll be considering this bearish for GBPUSD. This is USDCHF daily time frame. So last week we were looking for a possible reaction or bullish reaction from this very fair zone to the upside. Price gave us a reaction, but then there was this strong momentum that came in. I think the FOMC, and then the following day I think there was a CHF news or monetary policy news, something like that here, that drove price to the downside. So we're looking for it to a possible buying confirmation within this second zone, and as we can see, price is currently in our second zone or second area of interest. So if we are able to get confirmations here to buy, we might take the buy. But looking at how weak the DXY might be, there's a likelihood that price might break below this area of interest and sell to the downside. So we'll be looking at those scenarios. So these are the possible scenarios we have. Should price pull back and retest this structure point, this daily structure point, and give us selling confirmations here, we might take a very low risk sell from here and target this particular one daily time frame deep cap pattern. And should price also break below this zone with a daily candle or a weekly candle, we'll wait for a possible pullback into this zone once again, and then look for selling confirmations to the downside, targeting this deep cap pattern, potential reversal zone that we had from our previous episode. So we'll be more bearish than bullish on USDCHF for the coming week. So this is USDJPY. So USDJPY has given us a nice reaction from this area of interest, and is giving us a formation like a possible harmonic pattern formation. And we have our X, our A, our B, and our C leg. Our C leg is yet to give us clarity on as to when to buy to complete this pattern. So these are the two scenarios we have. Should we get a 4-hour structure shift or a 4-hour candle break above the structure point and come for a pullback or a possible lower high, a possible higher low, or a possible right shoulder, we'll be interested in taking the buys to the upside. These will be our very first targets we have, and our ultimate targets will be above this 4-hour crab pattern potential reversal zone. Okay, secondly, should price give us this reaction, should price pull back a bit lower, should price pull back lower and give us something like a double bottom formation, then we'll still be interested in taking the buys to the upside, just like we saw in the previous scenario. This can only be considered bearish if price breaks these lows, clears this zone, and then continues selling to the downside. Until then, we are very bullish on USDJPY, despite a possible weakness in DXY for the coming week. We are going to be bullish on USDJPY for the coming week. We have here USDCAD. So last week we anticipated that price was going to pull back to give us a reaction within this zone, to give us a selling opportunity to the downside. We were able to catch this move, but going into next week we'll still be looking forward to a possible pullback into this same very zone, and then look for selling opportunities to the downside. So we are very bearish on USDCAD for the coming week, just as we had from last week. Should it come a bit higher to this zone, which will be very extreme, we will still be looking for selling opportunities here. This can only shift extremely bullish if we are able to break the highs. Price is able to break these highs, and then continue to the upside. Until then, we are very bearish on USDCAD for the coming week. We have here EURCAD. So as of last week, we were anticipating that price was going to pull back into this area of interest, which is a neckline of this head and shoulder pattern we have here. So this is the head and shoulder we identified from last week. This is the left shoulder, this is the head, and then this is the right shoulder we have here. currently price is retesting the neckline, and that is where we'll be looking forward to see some selling confirmations within this zone, this very first zone we have here. Should we get the confirmations here, we'll be interested in taking the sells to the downside, or should price pull back a bit higher to this zone we have at the top, we will still be interested in taking the sells to the downside. Should price break above these structures or break above this possible right shoulder, then we would have shifted bullish on EURCAD. But until then, we are extremely bearish on EURCAD for the coming week. We have here GBPCAD, which we also anticipated from last week that price was going to pull back into this very area of interest at the right here. Price pulled back or give us a retest, but the movement to the downside is not too clear. So going into next week, we'll still be looking forward to a possible pullback a bit higher into the zone, or should we get a pullback here? Because if you look at the 4-hour time frame, the 4-hour has already shifted bearish, or the 4-hour structure has shifted bearish. So going into next week, should we get a slight pullback a bit higher around this zone, or slightly touches this zone we had previously, we'll be looking for sales from here to continue to the downside. So we are very bearish on GBPCAD for the coming week. These are the targets we have below. We are targeting this zone below right here. We have NZDCAD, which we were also very extremely bearish on last week. So as you can see, we have this price made its way into the area of interest once again, which is forming a possible right shoulder, and now we have this strong bullish engulfing candle on a daily time frame on NZDCAD. So going into next week, we're going to look forward to a possible pullback into the zone once again. Look for selling confirmations, or should price give us an equal high and give us a double top formation and comes this way, we'll be interested in taking the sells to the downside. Or should price give us this pullback also and then give us clean selling confirmations from anywhere around here, we'll take the sells from here and put our SL above this possible right shoulder and target these various targets we have below. So we are very bearish on NZDCAD for the coming week. This can only shift bullish if price is able to break above this zone and continue to the upside. So we are bearish on NZDCAD. We have here EURGBP. So as of last week, we were looking out for this possible head and shoulder formation. So this is a left shoulder, this is the head, and this is the right shoulder, and we're looking for it to see price to retest this particular area of interest, this very first area of interest, or this second area of interest, to give us selling opportunities to the downside. And price made its way into the area of interest, and it even blew out of it and more like approaching the second area of interest. So should price give us any selling confirmations within this zone or where we have it right now, we'll be very much interested in taking the sells to the downside into this zone we had from last week. But then if we get a daily candle to break above this daily structure, then we'll be looking forward to a possible pullback to retest the daily structure once again, or price might also pull back a bit deeper to give us a possible right shoulder. Then we're going to have something like a possible inverse head and shoulder right here. So this will be the left shoulder, this will be the head, possible head, this will be the possible right shoulder. Should price break above, give us a daily candle break above this zone and comes back for a retest, then we are going to see a possible right shoulder formation. Until then, we are still going to look at the bearish side of things for EURGBP for the coming week. We have here GBPAUD from last week. Last week we anticipated that price was going to pull back into this very area of interest where price currently has retested, but we haven't yet gotten a clear confirmation for the sells on this pair. So going into next week, we'll still be looking forward to this a retest of this zone again, and look for selling confirmations on the lower time frames. I'm looking for selling confirmations on the lower time frames in this very area of interest, and we take our sales to the downside. This can only shift bullish if price clears these highs and then continues to the upside. If price also pulls back a bit higher into this second area of interest, we'll still be looking forward to possible sales to the downside. But then if it breaks above, then we are going to be very bullish on GBPAUD for the coming week. We have here EURAUD, which we were also very extremely bearish on from last as a last week. So we're waiting for price to pull back into this area of interest to give us selling confirmations to the downside. So price has now made its way into the very first area of interest. So going into next week, we'll be looking forward to reversal patterns or anything that can give us a confirmation that price wants to sell from this zone, and we'll take ourselves to the downside. Should price pull back a bit higher into the zone above, we'll still be interested in looking for the sells to the downside for Euro AUD. Now, if price breaks above these structure points here, these daily structure points here, and counts for retest and continues, then we are very bullish, or that's when we consider Euro AUD bullish for the coming week. We also have the EURNZD. So EURNZD is developing something like a possible head and shoulder formation, which we are now yet to see the right shoulder formation. So going into next week, our price has already retested the very first zone. So should price pull back a bit deeper into this zone and give us selling confirmations, we'll be very glad to take the sells to the downside to this very zone we have below. Or should price pull back a bit higher into the second zone above, we'll still be interested in taking the sells to the downside. This can only shift bullish if price is able to break above this zone, clear these structure highs, and counts for a pullback and continue to the upside. Until then, we are going to look at the bearish side of things for EURNZD. We have the NZDCHF. So I think on a weekly perspective we are bullish, on a daily perspective we are still bullish on NZDCHF. And so going into next week, we'll be looking forward to a proper retest of this area of interest, which we're looking out for from last week. Should we get that retest and get buying confirmations within this zone, we'll take our buys from here and target this zone above. Should price pull back a bit deeper into the second zone below, which will look like a possible higher low formation, then we'll still be interested in taking the buys to the upside should price retest this particular structure point right here. But if price breaks below this structure point and counts for retest, then we're going to consider this bearish for NZDCHF. We have here CHFJPY. So dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, going into next week, we are looking forward to a possible pullback into this area of interest. This very first area of interest to look for buying confirmations to the upside, or should price move back to the second area of interest below, we'll still be interested in taking the buys to the upside. This will only shift bearish if price is able to sell and break this structure here. If price breaks this structure here, then I think that's when we'll consider this now bearish for CHFJPY. We have here AUDNZD. So AUDNZD on a daily perspective is giving us a reversal right here. Price gave us a pullback to this daily area of interest and gave us a nice reaction from that zone. If we drop to the 4-hour time frame, you can see another possible head and shoulder formation right here. We have the left shoulder, the head, and the possible right shoulder, which looks like it's done forming, and this looks like a double top formation. So going into next week, should we get a retest of this neckline? Should we get a retest of this neckline we have here, we'll be looking forward to taking the sell to the downside. Or should price pull back a bit higher into the zone above and still give us selling confirmations, we'll still be interested in taking the sells to the downside for the coming week. So we are bearish on AUDNZD, and this is our target. This is the zone we are targeting for the coming week. Should price break above this zone and clear the structure points, then we'll be looking out for the bullish side for AUDNZD for the coming week. We have here gold. So gold is extremely bullish, as we already know, and going into next week, we have this formation we saw from our previous episodes where gold was developing a possible candle pattern. By looking at the momentum that is coming on gold, we are likely going to make the next ATH around 4,687 or around 4,700 there about. So going into next week, we'll be looking forward to a retest of this zone we have here. A retest of this zone, look for buying confirmations and take the buys to the upside. This will be our first target. which is the previous ATH or all-time high, and then looking at the momentum that comes in, we'll continue holding till this particular ATH around the $4,700 per ounce for gold. So we are very bullish on gold, actually, very bullish. This can only shift bearish if we are able to shift the structure right here, the daily structure right here, and break below it and come for a retest. Then we might see a deeper pullback before we see the next bullish rally to the upside. Until then, we are extremely bullish on gold, and that's what we're looking out for the coming week. So we have here crude oil. This pair has actually stressed us out. I mean, it gave us two SLs around this high where we were taking our sell from, I think, last 2 weeks. We took 2 L's from here, and just after price took us out, price just kept tanking, and then we missed out on all this move. I mean, though we saw it in our previous episodes, price took us out, and let's say there was a liquidity grab, and then price actually dropped massively. So going into next week, we'll still be looking forward to the same sell side opportunity or the selling opportunities that we're looking out for. Should price pull back into this zone for the coming week, we'll still be interested in looking for the sells to the downside to the very first TP we had from our previous episodes, or the second TP we have below right here. Or should price also pull back a bit higher to the second zone above, we'll still be interested in looking for the selling opportunities to the downside for Brent crude oil. This can only shift bullish if these highs are cleared. If this high gets cleared, the price clears these highs, then we know we are bullish. Until then, we are still extremely bearish on UK oil or Brent crude oil. We have here US30. So as of last week, we anticipated that price was going to pull back into this area of interest, right? We have right here. Price tipped the area of interest, but the entry confirmation wasn't too clear. Even though there was an entry confirmation, we were looking out for further confirmations before we could jump onto this trade. So if we had taken this trade, it would have been right after this 4-hour bullish engulfing candle, where we're going to have our SL below, and then targeted these targets that we had from last week. So if we were able to catch this trade, or if we hadn't waited for more confirmations on this trade from last week, we would have been able to catch this buy also to the upside. Having this as our first TP, and our second TP would have been the second TP we have here. Going into next week, we'll be looking forward to a pullback once again into this zone, this area of interest. We're looking for the possible pullback into this area of interest, and look for buying confirmations or buying opportunities to the upside. Should price pull back a bit deeper also into the previous zone we're looking for it to retest, we'll still be interested in looking for the buys to the upside for the coming week on US30. So we are very bullish on US30. Should price break below this zone, that's when we'll be looking forward to the sales for US30. Until then, we are extremely bullish on US30. So our last index or pair for the week, we have here the JPN225 or the Nikkei 225. So going into next week, we actually have a nice structure shift here on a daily perspective, and so price on a daily perspective is bullish, on a weekly perspective is also bullish. So going into next week, should price pull back a bit deeper into this zone or anywhere around this zone, or even if it's able to come to this zone right below here and give us buying confirmations, we'll still be interested in taking the buys to the upside. So going into next week, we're looking for buying confirmations or buying opportunities to the upside for the Nikkei 225, and the next ATH is going to be around this price also. So if we're able to get this buying opportunity, we'll be very interested in taking the buys to the upside. Thank you so much for sticking through to the end of this video. I really appreciate you for taking the time to watch, and I'll encourage all of us to apply proper risk management to our trades and trade safe and sound. I wish us all a very fruitful and a very profitable week ahead of us. And as we are getting close to the Christmas celebrations, I pray that we'll all find profitability and end this year with joy and in profits. So take care and have a very good time, and I'll catch you guys on another episode. Thank you so much. Bye bye.